Hello.
Howdy.
Welcome to Murders
Per
Gallon
of
Popcorn.
corn. We practice this.
I'm Craig.
I'm Craig too.
You were supposed to say I'm Haley. Anyways, the bit is over. I'm Haley.
We're Craig.
My name is Craig Zalkin. This is Craig Stewart. We're here to talk about fun things.
And bad movies.
Bad movies. But before we do that, let's bantah a bit about life in general. So,
Before we even get into that, you just made me think of something.
ooh,
How would you define banter? Specifically bantah.
bantah is some cheeky chat. I would say it's like the way that I've seen it in practical use on Love Island UK specifically. It's like being able to have like a cheeky conversation like with someone, like a jokey conversation, a lighthearted but like like you just like vibe, I feel like.
So when they say, the bantah was good, but...
Yeah, I guess maybe it's more like joking around. But also, like, I feel like banter with, like, Americans.
Banter.
There's bantah.
As we say in America.
There's bantah and there's banter. Banter is like, I would even say that banter is like having an argument. Wouldn't you say that? Banter back and forth?
Yeah. Like going back and forth. Yeah. But the way we use it is like riffing.
Yeah.
I like to use that term. I think I picked that up from Nathan or something.
Riffing.
Not like that.
Riffing.
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 Where's riffing?
Mm.
It's just when you just talk, someone says something, then someone responds to it and adds to it, and then you do that.
Yeah. I do that a lot with my friend Becky.
Becky rocks.
Becky rocks. Shout out to Becky! We saw her while we were in Georgia, and it was very fun. We cooked her some dinner.
And we held her at knife point and forced her to follow MPGPals on Instagram.
And she made sure to let me know that she's listened to every episode, because if she doesn't, then she knows what will happen to her. So, anyway.
We put the fear of
God.
MPGP.
God, aka MPGP.
G-D. Pronounce that.
Good. Anyways, this is the bantah section. So let's first talk about, as we mentioned last week, it was our friend Amy's birthday, so we're going to talk about it for probably the next few episodes. But Amy, we love you. Basically, she had her little birthday party. We met some of her very cool friends. One of them, Jolene. Boop, boop, boop. Shout out to Jolene, who has a fucking sick podcast called
To Die For.
DYE.
As in Rit Dye for clothing, because the podcast is about costume design.
Yeah. Highlighting women in costume design in the horror genre. And Jolene is a very talented costume designer herself. And the reason how Amy knows her is Amy has done some sick work on The Last Drive-In, and Jolene also works on The Last Drive-In. Anyways,
stand up, Carrie.
Jolene, vegan queen.
Also vegan. Gotta say, when someone is introduced to me as being into horror, feminist, and vegan, I'm like, that's awesome. That's perfect. We should be best friends. Like,
Correct. So this is our official application, Jolene, to be best friends with you. So hopefully you're listening to our podcast. Let's see. We've seen a lot of very interesting films since Terrifier. After we process Terrifier.
I'm still processing Terrifier. There's a lot to be said there.
Dude, can I just say this story? So I was working on a Mortal Kombat stream last week. I do like, I'm a video editor for like a gaming and esports agency, and we do live streams, and I also do like the instant replays. Like there's this like funny little machine that I do work on, and basically blah blah blah. So the game was Mortal Kombat. So like the fatalities and stuff are these slow motion, like fucking like super gory like kill shots basically. And they're fucking sick. It's like so fucking sick.
Staple of the series.
Staple. So like there's one specific one where Scorpion goes around, he has like this like fiery kind of like chain thing, and he like circles around the victim and like pulls it and splits him in half. And literally this happened like multiple times. It was a 4-hour stream, and I kept fucking being re-traumatized by Terrifier, thinking about fucking our girl Dawn just being like...
Was she our girl though?
She wasn't really our girl, but like... I mean, she did not deserve that.
I thought you were going to say, our girl art.
Our girl art splitting not our girl Dawn in half. Basically, when I was in charge of these replay things, I kept like including the fatalities because that's the best part of the game. And we hit like the 2-hour point of the stream, and the client like basically was like, can we not include fatalities in the replays because it's a bit much?
That's so dumb though. Everyone knows that's the whole point of Mortal Kombat.
I know,
it's Mortal Kombat. These are immortals. Now, I guess they're mortals because they get killed, but they're all like aliens and shit.
They're like weird. Anyways, we're gonna watch Mortal Kombat after this stream.
Lots of Mortal Kombat content out there right now. If you're a Mortal Kombat fan, it's probably a good time to be alive.
Yeah, very true.
But yeah, Mortal Kombat is sick. I fuck with Mortal Kombat. I've always liked Mortal Kombat. I was also playing Doom, which we already talked about in the Terrifier episode. But I remember for the Super Nintendo, I had, at the same time that I got the Doom cart from the jockey lot, I also picked up Mortal Kombat, the first one for the Super Nintendo. And if you remember, that's the one without blood. They censored the fucking blood from the arcades, and like the Genesis version has blood. But the fatalities, they just don't hit right if you don't got the blood.
It do be hitting different.
The whole point though is it's the point of the game.
I know.
Like, I understand it can be an esport, but still, like...
Yeah. It's hard though, like, because you have like... It's like the client was like more of like a corporate client, probably in breaking NDAs, so I probably should not include that. Okay. Yeah, but it was interesting, like, and it was kind of funny because I sort of like outed myself to my coworkers and to my boss as like a huge fucking freak. I basically was like afterwards my boss like kind of took us out to drinks, and we were like chatting about it, and he like asked me again like if I was like into that. I was like, this is actually like really cool, like I'm like into gore and shit. Like I was like, believe it or not, this is not the most fucked up thing I've seen this week. But I did not. I was like, I literally just am coming off of fucking watching Terrifier. This does not faze me.
Yeah.
We are not the same. I'm just kidding.
No, you're not.
But yeah, so it was fun, and then I chatted with my other coworker Greg, who has a podcast called Land Party. So shout out to that, and he is gonna give me tips to make our podcast production quality.
That's something I want to say.
Yes.
Okay, so just something about me personally. I come from I was like a punk rocker kid. I felt like ever since I was like a child, I felt like I was like, I'm the punk kid. I was like listening. I was a rocker, dude, and the punk like DIY raw nature of like the nature of that music, it's just informed every other aspect of my life. I feel like I just am all about just like in my art and stuff too, DIY aesthetics, do it yourself. It's like an anarchist, like you don't need like systems in place to do something special. There's like something special about just doing it yourself. Podcasting is the same fucking way. We record this shit shitty as fuck. I feel like our personalities the rawness will shine through.
We're podcast punks.
We're rough around the edges, but we're still potent. So we're 100% DIY, raw as fuck, vegan anarcho podcasting. MPGP.
We're gonna
Bitch.
create a new bitch. We're creating a new genre of podcasting called pod crust.
Yeah.
Pod crusting.
Podcore.
But yeah, for context, we share a fucking microphone. I record this shit on QuickTime and I edit it on a fucking software that's made for video editing. So do with that information what you will. What have we watched besides that? We've seen...
Oh, interesting you should ask, because we actually watched this funny little movie called Cocktail, starring Tom Cruise.
Y'all, this movie is a horror movie.
Cocktail.
It's horribly... Literally...
Horribly acted.
Fuck. Okay. We're gonna go ahead and go on the record. Fuck Tom Cruise. Period.
I will happily go on the record as saying Tom Cruise sucks. He's just not. I don't like watching him. It makes me angry.
He was like. It was like there were certain scenes in this movie where we just watched Tom Cruise like be so cringy.
He's like Mark Zuckerberg or something. You know how like people say Mark Zuckerberg is like a bot or he's like an alien come to Earth? That's how Tom Cruise seems.
Yes.
And you know, even Tom Cruise has that fucking thing where his teeth aren't in the center of his face. Have you seen that too? Like if you look at Tom Cruise's face and you split him down the middle, one tooth is in between that middle line.
Whoa.
His two front teeth aren't in the middle of his face. There's something off about it.
Fuck that asymmetrical motherfucker. This movie,
Look.
for like the reason why we watched. Whoa.
Doesn't there just seems to be something wrong about that? Am I right? Like
He's crooked AF.
let's be crooked.
The reason why we watch this movie is because when I was little, I don't know how I discovered it. I think it was just like on the movie channel. But I was like, oh, I'll watch this. I actually think I got it from like VH1's like I Love the 80s or something. Like that kind of thing. Where they talked about this movie. And I was like, ew, oh my god, Craig just showed me the worst photo of Tom Cruise I've ever seen in my life, and I will be having nightmares. No, he has like 3 to 4 buttons undone on his shirt, and it's just like too much. Does he have a missing tooth?
Yeah, and the glasses.
He has a missing tooth, you guys. This is not a drill. Like, Tom Cruise is scary. But
We're
I
so
saw
mean.
this. I know. Whatever. Tom Cruise is not gonna fucking listen to this podcast.
Ha ha ha. JK and Les.
You find out that me and Craig have been murdered by Tom Cruise.
For slandering his good name.
Yeah.
I'm
The
too
reason
high.
why I put Cocktail on the TV and subjected Craig to this is because I saw the movie when I was young, when I was little. And I remember being like so like, wow, I want to be a bartender. I literally was like, I think I like, I remember a conversation I literally had with my mom being like, I want to like be a bartender when I grow up. And my mom was like, no. And I remember when I was little, this movie being completely different than what I watched the other day. Like, I had this, like, kind of, like, idea that, like, he was a bartender in Vegas, and I thought that he was, like, involved with, like, mob people. Like, I literally thought that that was the plot of the movie, and then we watched something completely different. I'm, like, don't know what I was thinking.
This sounds like one of the Mandela effects.
Yes. But just for me, just in my life. It's so weird, y'all. But anyways.
Maybe there is a movie out there that's like the one you're thinking of, and it's like you just keep confusing these two movies that are very similar and from the same era.
There has to be. I don't know.
Maybe you saw Roadhouse or something.
I did not see Roadhouse. By the way, Roadhouse is the fucking best movie ever made, period.
Roadhouse is a slasher.
Honestly, we should maybe do Roadhouse on this podcast because there is murder.
I don't know how many kills there are. I know the old man farmer dies. Just the like mob that runs the bar kill him.
Patrick Swayze kills a lot of men in that movie.
Does he kill them or just?
He kills them with his karate moves, and there's explosions.
There's tons of explosions.
Dude, there's like okay. Maybe the next Friday the 13th break we do Roadhouse. But
I thought the only confirmed kill of that movie was that the like mob people killed the farmer that he was like staying on his land.
They
like,
definitely did.
He rolls into town, finds a farmer to like sleep. Like he's like, I need a place to crash. Mind if I like crash in your barn or something? Basically. And I'm here to fix up the bar.
Oh my god.
Okay, we're so off.
Okay,
track.
Cocktail. Let's just like fucking like
Cocktail
do a one-liner.
is a shitty
Don't watch
Roadhouse
this fucking
imitation.
movie. There's no explosions. One guy dies. It's just basically like just watching Tom Cruise at like probably the most cringiest he has ever been being a bartender in Manhattan.
His dancing.
Oh my god.
I wanted to puke.
Every time there's a scene, because it's, like, supposed to show his, like, evolution as, like, a fucking bartender. And, like, you're supposed to be like, oh, like, this guy's cool. And, like, every time
so lame.
he looks so lame. Like, literally me and Craig kept looking at each other, and I swear to God, like, we both wanted to, like, throw the fuck up. It was disgusting. Disgusting.
Oh, my God.
Anyways, so we watched that.
We build off of each other too much. Like, we can't go to these heights. Like, when we're together talking about this shit, we just...
We annihilate.
We
well...
just fucking decimated Tom Cruise.
We're about to decimate a lot more than just Tom Cruise in this. I'm just saying.
We were kind of... I don't know what happened before we watched the movie we're talking about tonight, but, like, I feel like we went into this movie and we were already expecting to hate it.
No. Okay.
No?
For me, let's just go ahead and start. The movie that we're doing is Friday the 13th, Part 7, The New Blood. So, great title. Yeah. So, for me, I was like, I remember, like, when we put this movie on, I was like, I'm so excited because, like, one, like, we heard bad things about Part 5, and me and Craig loved Part 5. like, we really loved it. And we're also coming off
Yeah,
part 6.
You nailed it. Like, part 5 was the movie that I had just, like, always assumed would have been one of the bad ones because people rank it really low and they, like, hate on it a lot on, like, online in, like, horror communities and shit. They, like, don't like that movie because it's got Roy Burns in it and not Jason. And I was expecting, like, oh, it must be bad if everyone's saying it's, like, bad and they're Friday the 13th fans. And I fucking loved it. I thought it was, like, I was, like, happy to watch it. So at that point, I was like, this movie can do no wrong. Or this franchise can do no wrong.
And then
So
the New Blood came.
Even though I knew 7 wasn't the most
best.
well received, I was like, it might be good. Like, it's Jason in, like, his cool, like, peak form, you know?
Yeah.
Or, like, maybe a little after it, but...
Yeah. We've reached peak Jason with part 6, but part 7 is a continuation of peak Jason, I think. Because
yeah, definitely.
Jason was the most impressive part of this movie. Like, I really loved the way that he was designed. But let's start with kind of like the background of this movie. So it was directed by John Carl Buechler. I'm not really sure what else he's done. Let's see.
Buechler. Just say Buechler. Like, maybe it's pronounced like that just because there's this author, Benjamin Buechler.
Yeah.
Buechler.
Oh, he did Nightmare on Elm Street 4: The Dream Master.
No way.
Which we watched.
That makes sense, kind of.
Yeah.
Because they're, like, visually very similar and from the same era.
Well, he also did Halloween 4. This is very interesting.
Are you kidding me? So, the guy who did...
Oh, wait. He's only done...
Okay.
He did... He did special makeup effects for these.
And Ghoulies.
But he directed...
He directed Troll 1.
Troll?
Holy fuck.
He directed Ghoulies 3, Ghoulies Go to College.
Wow, I thought there were only 2.
I agree with that. I had no idea. Basically, for the 7th installment of this series, Paramount wanted to seek out a partnership with New Line Cinema, which is the production company that has Nightmare on Elm Street. And they wanted to do a crossover of Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street. But that didn't come into fruition until 2003 with Freddy vs. Jason. And this movie was made in 1988. So there apparently were several failed concepts for this 7th installment. And then the screenwriter Daryl Haney suggested to combine Carrie and Jason and, like, make this, like, telekinetic teenage girl versus Jason Voorhees installment for what the fuck ever reason, and that was the concept.
Mind you, this is 1988.
Yes.
And when did that Sissy Spacek Carrie movie adaptation came out? Like, in the 70s for sure, like maybe 71. Maybe 69.
1974.
Okay, so some years Carrie is not relevant anymore.
It's been a minute.
Why do you want to make a movie where Jason fights a Carrie type? And it's like, even the actress who plays the leading girl in this movie, she looks like Sissy Spacek, kind of. She's got blonde hair and bangs and, like, kind of a southern accent.
Yeah. Like, sort of just, like, yeah, similar vibes. But she's a worse actress.
Yeah, she's no Sissy Spacek. She's really bad.
Yeah, so It was a concept for sure. And it was a concept that was approved and distributed to the masses.
If you were like, sat me down and you're like, all right, Craig, we want your input on like a Friday the 13th movie. And they were like, list like every single idea you could come up with for this movie and pitch it to us. I don't think I would, if I try to list every concept that could come to my mind, I don't think I would ever arrive at Jason versus Carrie. That would never cross my mind.
What would be some crossovers you'd like to see with Jason?
I mean, I think they wanted to do Carrie versus Jason,
or
partially
Jason, or yeah, sorry.
Carrie versus Jason concept, partially because Freddy versus Jason was something that they were working on for years. Like, that was like a fan, like, we want this to happen. Like, fans were talking about it, and there were like rumors going around that it was gonna happen. It was like a thing that people just wanted for years before it ever actually happened. And I think they knew that, and like, oh, but we're gonna do
this instead because we don't have the rights to Freddy quite yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, we got this movie. So let's just get right into it. So the setting is Crystal Lake. It is
not Forest Green.
It's not Forest Green anymore. They don't even really reference. I think Jason is long removed from people's psyche at this point.
Definitely.
So we start the movie with a scene where there's a little girl and two parents that are fighting, and it's insinuated that the dad is abusive, and the little girl is like running away and gets in a boat onto the lake. Also, like, while this is happening, we see like little shots of Jason like basically right under their dock. So I guess the camp has been demolished again, and instead there's like a neighborhood right on the lake because Jason's right outside. So this girl, who is Tina Shepard as a child, Tina Shepard is the main character, the telekinetic bitch that we the bitch that we are forced to watch a movie about. And the dad like comes and he chases her kind of, but he's like, come back, and she's like, I hate you, I wish you were dead. And she basically like with her telekinesis like murders her father by breaking the like deck thing that they have, and
that he was standing on.
Yeah, and forcing him to drown. And I thought that we were gonna see, because they kept showing Jason like basically right there, so I thought we were gonna see like him coming down and Jason like grabbing him and like snapping his neck or something, but it just was a completely separate drowning death. So,
but they also made it seem like she was gonna bring Jason up right then, because there was like some bubbling in the water and shit, and it was just like, is
this when she's gonna
be unleashed when she's a child, and then he doesn't come and like kill her until later? I was a bit confused by that. I was like, did this whole scene even need to happen necessarily at all? For her to just, she could have just been telekinetic and just brought Jason back up from the water, right?
This is true, but later you'll find, we're getting way ahead of ourselves. So, flash forward, it's a few years later. Tina has sought treatment for her telekinesis, and she's struggling with all of the shit surrounding like the fact that she killed her dad accidentally. So her mom, whose name is Amanda, takes her back to where they used to live, where she killed her father, as part of a treatment for her. And she's there with her doctor, Dr. Cruz, who basically does, like, quote-unquote experiments, aka, like, he basically, like, verbally abuses Tina to get her to be telekinetic and shit. And that's basically that. And there's a certain point where it comes to a head, and she basically, like, goes out to the lake and onto the dock where she last, like, killed her dad, basically. And she's, like, wishing for him back, and she's, like, ruling with emotions. And basically, she brings Jason out of his chains and out of his watery grave and brings him back to life.
And she doesn't really realize that at first. Right? She's like...
Well, she's like, Dad, and then she's like, oh shit, what the fuck? And then she, like, goes inside and basically, like, is like, I saw, like, a fucking, like, she doesn't know who Jason is. She just was like, what the fuck is that, basically. And I think she just passes out. And then he, like, disappears.
Fucking hell.
Yeah.
The plot in this movie.
It's wild. And also, like, that's just later that night. Like, I'm reading this in order of, like, how Wikipedia told me to read it. But basically, like, I'm gonna go back a little bit and explain that next door to Tina, her mom, and this fucking doctor, there is a group of teens, our cast of teens, for, they're, like, in this lake house, and they're there for this dude named Michael, whose birthday it is, and they're there for, like, a surprise party. So...
And this cast includes Michael's brother.
Cousin.
Which,
like, it kind of, like, I thought it was his brother, too, but it's his cousin. So, it's this hunk, Nick. There is Russell and his girlfriend, Sandra. There's Ben and his girlfriend, Katie. There's a, like, science fiction nerd named Eddie. There's a stoner, David, who literally packs, like, 15 joints.
Yeah.
For, like, a weekend.
Before the movie gets going, you see him just, like, rolling the joints for the weekend, I guess. And he's just, like, sitting there just rolling joint after joint, just packing them full in this, like, cigarette tin.
And then, we have Robin, who's just, like, a tall, skinny girl. And there's Maddie, who has glasses. And that's her personality. And then there's Melissa, who's, like, the bitch of the friend group. So Nick sees Tina and, like, introduces himself. And he's like, hey, like, what's up, like, blah, blah, blah. I think, like, Tina, like, drops her bag, and he, like, helps her pick up, like, her underwear and shit, and it's, like, all this shit. And then Melissa, who's the bitch, is, like, sunbathing, and she sees Tina, and she goes, there goes the neighborhood.
She's talking about gentrification.
Yeah, but it's, like, literally these three whiteys, like, it's just, like, the weirdest shit. So, yeah.
When
so
they don't even live in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
They're just there to party, right?
Yeah, they're literally just, like, they're at a lake house.
Line.
Very weird line. We watched, like, some of the extended scenes, and what was cut out of that was that, one of the other girls was, like, sitting next to her sunbathing, and she just goes, Melissa, you're such a bitch.
They had to cut
They cut that. So that's, like, Oh, and also just, like, some dynamics. So, like, obviously we have a bunch of couples, but Robin and Maddie are vying for the heart of David. And Robin is, like, it's like Maddie is kind of, like, supposed to be, like, nerdy. She has glasses, blah, blah, blah. And Robin is, like, seems kind of like she might be, like, a virgin. But basically they're, like, competing. And Robin's like, well, like, I don't really have much competition with you, basically. She's kind of, like, rude, and they're supposed to be, like, best friends, but she's like, yeah, Maddie, you need, like, an upgrade in order for, like, David to even consider you and shit. And I'm like, damn. These bitches are savage.
She says you need some work.
Oh, yeah. Also a funny bonus scene that we watched was, like, this very weird scene where, like, the actresses that play these two characters, like, get a weird, like it
okay,
kind of
so
like this.
I'll describe it.
Yeah.
It's on the Scream Factory Collector's Edition box set Blu-rays. That's what we're watching this on. One of the special features, for some fucking reason, is this, like, straight from 2008, like, makeover video, like, reality TV style 30-minute, like, 25-minute video of the two girls, like, the rival friend girls.
Frenemies.
Well, they're friends.
Yeah.
It's them two getting a makeover in reaction to the scene where she's told she needs some work done, and then later in the movie she, like, gives herself a makeover and says, need some work done, my ass.
Yeah. Maddie has herself a glow up moment later in the movie.
Basically they go to a fucking Hot Topic or, like, a Spencer's Gifts style store and have the, like, extreme side swoop, like, lanky nerdy white guy take them on a date and, like, style them, and I don't know.
Yeah, it was very chaotic to watch.
It was like 2008, like, mall emo. It's like mall core.
Yeah.
So, and these women already at this point are, like, well into their 40s at least. Right?
Mm-hmm.
If it was...
They're in their 40s
1988
at this point.
To 2008.
Yeah. So...
It was weird.
Yeah,
it was
the
weirdest
weird
special feature I've ever seen on a Blu-ray.
Mm-hmm. It felt like... It just... The tone of it was very, like... It kind of felt like YouTube.
It was like if VH1... in 2008 wanted to, like, for some fucking reason do a makeover of these two random actresses. Like, that's what it felt like, a VH1 special.
Yeah, or, like, it had the same, like, tone and production quality as, like, the show Next on MTV.
Yeah, exactly.
So, anyways, those two characters. So... Anyways.
Love the actress, though, that plays Maddie.
Yeah, she's great. Maddie, honestly, was, like, my favorite character of this movie.
Yeah,
So, let's go right back to where we left off. Tina. So, this is later that night. Tina has unleashed Jason. No one knows what's gonna
literally
fucking happen.
Unleashed him.
Literally,
he's still got the leash, the chain around his neck. It's just severed.
Jason is chain punk as fuck in this movie.
Yeah.
So Jason stumbles upon the birthday boy, Michael, and his girlfriend Jane. Their car, like, breaks down. So, I'll go into the details of the kills a little later, but I'm just for now gonna say, Jason kills Michael and his girlfriend Jane. And then he also, like, randomly murders another couple that's just, like, camping in the woods. And a notable kill with those two is that the girl is, like, waiting in the sleeping bag And Jason, like, grabs her in the sleeping bag.
Drags her over to a tree and then whips her against the tree to bludgeon her head.
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
That's a good kill. That's one of the only good kills in this movie.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to say that.
Yeah. So basically, like, Tina is having visions. Oh, Tina, like, also earlier that day. Sorry, this is, like, really discombobulated. Okay. So, also earlier that day, like, just to go back, Tina, like, met all of the teens and stuff. Like, Nick has a thing for Tina, so he, like, brought her around.
That's when she dropped her stuff and, like,
yeah,
dropped her, like,
well, that's when she first got there, but,
and he, like, established that he had, like, a thing for her. Right?
And then he invited her over, and she met the crew, and Tina starts having, like, visions of people getting murdered.
Oh.
I think the person that she saw...
Wait, I remembered a thing we haven't mentioned at all yet that has already come up that's very important, is the doctor, the scientist, who is, like, living with her. Like, the reason Tina is in Crystal Lake is because her mom... So, she was just released from, like, an institution.
Mm-hmm.
And her mom wants her to undergo some, like, experimental treatment from a psychiatrist, presumably, or something, who wants to study her and her gifts or her abilities or whatever. But he's got this ulterior motive to, like, trigger these events and study the events themselves and, like...
And harness her power.
Or something. And make, like, a scientific paper or something on that specifically, rather than... helping her overcome it. He wants her to do it more so that he can study it. Mm-hmm. So this scientist, it's like he's either live in with them or, like, that's the only, I don't know. He's in the movie a lot. Like, every time she's around or her mom's around, he's there. Mm-hmm. So he's kind of like a father figure too. Like, he looks kind of like her dad from the previous scene, I thought.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's, like, manipulating her.
Yeah, and he's a dick. And he also, like, gaslights her a bunch. Like, there's...
Trying to trigger her.
Yeah, and there's, like, scenes specifically where, like, she knows that she saw Jason, like, rise from the lake. And she knows there's something wrong. And she, like, even saw, like, he, like, put a, like, spear or something, like, in their door. Like, Jason, like, left a little clue, and she's, like...
Spike.
And she saw it, and she told them about it, and then it disappeared. So then... But the doctor actually, like, hid it, and is, like, trying to make her, like, think that she's crazy. It's, like, this whole fucking thing, and he's a fucking dickhead. But, yeah. Basically, like, Tina... has telekinesis, and she also can weirdly, like, see the future. So basically she has this, like, vision. I think, like, I think David, like, starts, like, kind of, like, I think a beer, like, explodes on him, and he's, like, drooling or whatever from the beer, and she sees Michael, like, Nick's cousin, like, bleeding from the mouth. And she's like, oh my god! And everyone's like, what the fuck is wrong with you? So, that's that. This movie... sorry if the explaining is discombobulated. It's a tough
The plot's bad. Most of the shit doesn't matter at all.
Yeah.
Like... We're going to go through the whole plot for you, but basically the movie is, there's a, like, generic character who's supposed to be like Carrie. She does generic Carrie type shit in generic Carrie type scenes where there's, like, it's like mom, you know, like mom-daughter scenes and her freaking out and things happening when she freaks out. Like, it's very generic Carrie vibes.
She's, like, misunderstood, and, like, people think she's a freak.
people keep calling her crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, whatever. We're gonna go through it, but
yeah.
It's discombobulated. It doesn't make sense, but that's also because the source material is just so weak.
Yeah, it's grasping at straws. So basically, later, okay, so the following day, after Michael, his girlfriend, and the other couple in the woods get murdered, and Tina knows that something's going on, but no one believes her, I think Melissa gets hold of the information that Tina is, like, fucking, like, has come from a mental institution. So she, like, says something about that, like, in front of everyone, and everyone's like, what? And then Tina and Nick, like, have this, like, weird conversation. There's, like, a budding romance there. Blah, blah, blah. Later that night, Tina's mom finds out that the doctor, like, one, hid the weapon that Tina claimed she saw, and then she also sees all of the evidence that he's exploiting her daughter. And
through tapes.
Yeah. And she's getting, like, really pissed and shit. And Tina, I think, overhears, and she runs away. She gets in a car, and she's driving, and then she sees a vision of her mom getting impaled by Jason in the middle of the road. So she crashes the car. And meanwhile, the doctor and the mom go to look for her, and somehow Tina and Nick get reunited. And basically it's a let's you wait here and I'll warn the fucking teens about Jason. And she searches for the mom, blah 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 blah. That's later. Let's go through, like, basically Jason bodies every single person in the house, starting with Maddie. Hard rib to Maddie. So basically Maddie is she's like, okay, well, I'm gonna try to fuck this David dude. I'm gonna get fucking ready. And she takes off her glasses, she does some makeup, she does a little something with her hair.
Puts on, like, a short skirt.
And then she goes into the woods. I think because she, like, hears something or sees something, and she's like, David, where are you? Unfortunately for her, it is actually Jason. Zombified Jason. Fish. He really is fish-like in this movie. And
he looks like a crustacean.
He chases her into this, like, shed, and she actually is pretty good at, like, maneuver. Like, she hides behind a barn door, and then when she notices that Jason's, like, coming back around, she scrambles under the barn door and hides behind the other barn door. And it really reminded me a lot of this game that I'm playing, Little Nightmares.
Oh yeah, it did.
I was like, this is like Little Nightmares, and I'm, like, addicted to it. But
she just kept going back and forth, though. That's her mistake. I feel like when she left the little room, she should have just darted for the door, just said fuck it, because she just kept going from one side to the other, hoping he would eventually give up and walk away.
Unfortunately, he does not do that, and he stabs her in the head.
Through a wall.
Another scene, I also think that we're doing this out of order, but it really does not matter, y'all. So basically, another scene is the couple, Russell and Sandra are going to go skinny dipping in the lake, and Sandra, like, gets fully naked, and goes into the water. And while she's in the water, Russell's, like, starting to get undressed, and he sees Jason, and Jason axes Russell in the head. And Sandra was, like, underwater while this was happening, so she, like, comes back up, and she sees,
Jason, not Russell.
Yeah, and she sees, like, I think she saw, like, Russell's dead body on the beach, and then Jason is in the water.
Oh, okay.
And then we get, like, honestly, like, a very cool shot of, like, under the water, the camera is facing up, and we see, like, a shot of, like, this, like, naked legs, tits, and, like, basically vag of this fucking girl.
Jason's, like, swimming up.
Yeah. Approaching the booty, and then, he drowns her. So, rip to her. So, then our next, victims are gonna be Ben and Kate. Were they in the car?
Yeah, I can't remember what they're doing.
I remember. Okay.
Why are they in the car?
They're going to have
Everyone's
sex.
like fucking like in separate like vehicles.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you guys rented a cabin, right? Just like find a room or something. Like go to the bathroom.
Yeah, for some reason Ben and Kate are like forced to be in this trailer to have sex. Not even a trailer. I think it's just literally like a minivan with a mattress.
I just thought it was a minivan or like.
So they're like about to get busy and they hear a little rustling outside and they think that it's Michael and his girlfriend. So they're like, okay, we're gonna like surprise them or whatever. So they open the door like and they go, surprise! And I honestly was expecting Jason to just, like, fucking, like, machete chop both their heads, like, right then.
Oh, my God.
But that did not happen. Basically, they say surprise to no one, and, Ben is like, okay, I'm gonna go check it out. And Kate's like, no. But Ben goes around, and he sees Jason... And Jason crushes Ben's skull. And then Kate is still in the car and she's like, Ben? Like, you good? And Jason takes a party horn and stabs it through her eye.
So what sound does a party horn make?
It's like... Did that sound effect play when he stabbed it through her head?
No.
That would be fucking...
Stabbed it through her eye.
Yeah.
It's her left eye.
Yeah, but wouldn't you say that the eye is a part of the head?
Actually, I don't know, though. Because is the head the cranium?
Listeners, is your face an eye?
Well, just to be more specific, it was her left eye.
Oh, and then Jason does classic Jason where he sees a fucking, like... power box and he rips it out of the thing. So the power goes out in the house.
Always. He does that in every movie, I swear to God. He like sees a group of people in a building, immediately sneaks down to like the nearest wires and unplugs
and just
them
like
all.
fucks that up.
He just loves unplugging shit.
Yeah. The power needs to be out for him to reach his fucking peak, you know?
Yeah.
So basically, David and Robin have just fucked. And David's going down to get a little midnight snacky. And he opens the fridge, grabs it, and then basically, when he closes it, he hears something and he goes, Maddie? Which is very interesting. So maybe, like, he actually did have feelings for Maddie or something. Because that was the last thing he said. He was like, Maddie, is that you? He said Maddie, not Robin. So Maddie technically won. Just saying. Team Maddie for life. It was not Maddie. It was Jason. And he stabs David to death. Meanwhile, Eddie is unwrapping all of Michael's birthday presents. And Jason thinks that's very disrespectful, so he slices Eddie's neck open.
Wow.
Upstairs, Robin is kind of like, yo, where the fuck is David? Trying to go for round 2. And instead of finding David, she finds his severed head, and then she finds Jason and is thrown out of a window to her death. So those are all of the fucking teens. Just fucking dead. Goodbye. So then, let's go back to Tina and Nick, who are back at Tina's house. Tina is like, I need to go find my mom. Nick is like, I need to go fucking, like, warn my friends. He says, stay there. Tina does not listen. Tina goes into the woods. Before Tina can get to her mom and Dr. Cruz are out in the woods, and they stumble upon Jason in the woods. And Jason attacks them with, like, a pole, like a fucking spear or something. Basically, Dr. Cruz throws Tina's mom, like, onto this spear, using her as a human shield, and then runs away. But slowly but surely, you cannot run from Destiny or Jason. Jason pulls up with a fucking pole chainsaw, and which is like a chainsaw at the end of a pole, basically. It's like a circular saw.
Imagine a weed whacker. So yes. you have a handle on one end, and then there's a long pole. This pole is especially long on this thing, and then at the end of that is a circular saw, and it's spinning. So it seems like a very inefficient tool, and one that is not often seen in, like,
in practical use
in media.
Yeah,
it's not like a chainsaw. Everyone knows what that looks like. This is a thing that, like, seems very rare, but it's seen in this movie. It looks cool in Jason's hands.
So, yeah, he gets sawed in the stomach. Fuck you, Dr. Cruz. So
he really proved to be a big bitch pussy at the end, didn't he?
I can't believe he did that to fucking Tina's mom.
I know. He sacrificed her.
Yeah.
He, like, tricked her.
For, like, literally nothing. Because literally, like, 2 minutes later, he fucking died. I'm like, ugh.
He, like, tricked her into, like, being a body shield.
Yeah.
Know? Just so he could live for, like, a few more minutes.
Yeah, fuck that dude. So, Tina finds her mom's body. She is mourning, and then she somehow, I don't even remember how this happens, but basically I guess she gets back to the house, and there's some sort of, like, way that she can use her powers to bring down, like, a wire or something and, like, electrocute Jason, and then also crash, like, part of her house, like, down onto Jason. Part of the friend's house, actually. Like, part of the neighbor's house.
That's a funny scene when Jason's down in the puddle. He's in a mud puddle. And that's when she snakes the electrical wire into the puddle, and it electrocutes Jason for a little bit.
Yeah, but, I mean, me and Craig were like, I mean, lightning brought Jason to life.
Yeah, Jason runs on fucking voltage.
Shit's not doing jack to Jason right now.
Yeah, you probably just supercharged him.
Exactly.
He just needed a boost.
So, she's like, oh, I collapsed the house on him and electrocuted him, so obviously he's dead because this bitch doesn't know Jason. I think
we know Jason.
Like we know Jason. So they go back to Tina's house. It's Tina, Nick, and then Melissa, who is the bitch, comes, and Tina and Nick are like, basically explain the entire situation. Melissa's like, you're fucking crazy, and she goes to leave, but Jason axes her in the face. And then what ensues is a struggle that basically winds up where Jason is unmasked and we see his like fucked up face and he looks scary.
The way he's unmasked is she tightens Jason's hockey mask onto his head using telekinesis, and then his head is swollen water fucking damaged head starts like seeping white like pus and blood. I don't know that.
And it like explodes. Gross. That's a good one.
And then Jason turns around. You see the back of his head when the pus happens. Then Jason turns around and yells, and the mask explodes off his face while he's screaming, and it looks like the Mummy or something.
Yeah. I will say, Jason looks very fucking sick in this movie. Very sick.
This is one of Jason's best looks, I think.
Yeah. So they continue to battle it out. There's eventually a fucking like a huge explosion of Tina's house for some fucking reason. Like they blew all the budget on this fucking explosion. It's huge. And then Tina basically is trying to kill Jason. Jason's like unkillable, but this is where it gets fucking weird. So Tina's like on the dock. All hope is seemingly lost. Jason's about to fuck her up. And all of a sudden, her father, who she murdered when she was like 8 years old, comes up and drags Jason into the depths of Crystal Lake.
Not too unlike in the first movie when Jason comes out of the water.
And in the second movie when Pamela comes out of the water. Yeah. And in the third movie... Or wait, was it... Okay, wait. The second movie was... the second movie was Jason crashing through the window. But the third movie was Pamela's corpse coming through the water. And then the fourth movie was Jason crashing through the window. And then the fifth movie was... Anyways, it was akin to that. It's another little self-referential part. Also, like, notable.
But he didn't even look wet.
Yeah.
Like, he came out of the water and his hair didn't even look wet. I swear to God.
It looked literally like...
I can't remember photographically. Maybe we could get a picture. But he was still wearing his cardigan.
Yeah.
And like, he didn't look like Jason. Like, Jason comes out of the water, he's covered in fucking, like, tattered, swampy clothes, and everything is bloated. He looks like he's been underwater forever. This guy comes out of the water. He drowned like years prior. It should be a corpse. And he looks fine.
He literally looks like there's mud on him. And
but his hair is still like fine.
This dude looks completely normal. And he drags Jason back down into the depths of Crystal Lake. Then the next morning, Nick and Tina are carried away in an ambulance. There's kind of a reference point where Tina is like, where's Nick? Where's Nick? As she's being taken away on the ambulance, sort of like when Jenny was being taken away on the ambulance. And then it just, like the last sort of like closing scene is someone finds Jason's broken mask in the wreckage, and then the screen fades to black, and we hear that and that.
Speaking of that sound.
Yeah. Oh, the music was really fucking good in this. Okay, so that now that we got the plot out of the way, let's just like fucking dive a little bit deeper. One thing that we did notice was how good the music was in this, and the soundtrack or the score was very operatic, I thought. Very epic, not super like, I feel like with 3D, the music and score is a little like disco-y basically. I would say the music and the design of Jason are the two best things about this movie. So
I would agree with that. And some of the set pieces, and like the atmosphere is cool with there's some moody lighting, but overall,
there's good shots.
I would say Kane Hodder, who plays Jason, is probably the best thing about this movie. This is the first movie he's in, and he's a pretty iconic Jason. He does like the next 3, I believe, Friday the 13th movies. He's like the actor who played Jason the longest, and he's also kind of like really seems to be really invested in the character still. So Kane Hodder is cool.
Yeah, Jason was scary in this one.
Yeah,
so shouts.
Also, there were some scenes where like Jason jumped through a window. I remember a scene where he like galloped over a window, like broke into a window. Very like actiony. And there's this scene where Jason lights on fire. Like Kane Hodder has a background in doing stunts. He's a stuntman, so he did his own stunts for this movie. So like, and they could be more elaborate because of his experience, I think. So they could like light him on fire.
Yeah.
There's a scene where he's like fully lit on fire, and he like busts through windows a bunch. He's underwater a bunch.
Okay, so for Friday the 13th, Part 7, we have 16 kills. 15 Jason-related kills. 1 Tina-related kill. Maybe 2. I mean, I wouldn't count. From here on out, Jason, like, does not die, basically. So I would not count, like, him being subdued by Tina's dead dad a death in my eyes. I would say more like he's just trapped again. So let's just go through the deaths. I just want to say for this movie, a lot of gore and stuff like was cut out. So there's a lot of like sort of like stab off screen, that type of
body
treatment
reveal
to
later.
Lots of body reveals, which are pretty cool. But yeah, not super impressed. But let's get into it.
Yeah, not a ton of gore or like special effects gore.
Yeah.
Like most of the special effects just go into the look of Jason with like the zombie look and the like CGI on his face, I think, and mixed with the practical effects when he takes his mask off.
Yeah. So, number 1, John Shepard, killed by Tina, drowned via telekinesis. Number 2, Jane, who is Michael's girlfriend, was stabbed in the back of the head and then pinned to a tree with a knife or some sort of like tent stake or something.
Oh yeah, that's the tent stake, I think.
Yeah. Then Michael was stabbed in the back by Jason. Dan, who was one of the people just camping, random people that was camping, broken neck by Jason. His was a body reveal. We didn't see him die. Judy was slammed against a tree in a sleeping bag. Russell, axe swing into the face. Sandra, drowned. Maddie, stabbed.
Completely off screen.
Off screen. Her body is revealed.
You can only presume that she was stabbed, really.
Yeah.
Right?
It's literally like you see him grab her and then like see the hook or whatever.
Yeah, it's a hook. Like, how does that make...
I guess like maybe it was like he
through a wall.
Through it. Yeah, I don't know. But in her body reveal, her throat is basically like slit. Ben's head was crushed. Kate was stabbed in the eye with a party horn, which was a good one. David was stabbed in the stomach when getting snackies. Eddie was stabbed in the neck. Robin was pushed off of a window. Amanda was impaled through the back. Dr. Cruz, weed whacker to the stomach. Melissa Power, axe to the head and then smashed against the wall. So what was your favorite kill?
Alright, let's just go ahead and say the 3. So, obviously, sleeping bag, number 1. Party horn, number 3. And then the doctor kill with the interesting weapon. The circular saw on the end of a stick kill.
I have different ones, or a different order in what, and I didn't put the doctor in my top because I wanted to see the doctor fucking like brutally murdered because he was like the actual villain.
Well, I put that one in my top 3 because the look with Jason with that weapon is so iconic, and the fact that he uses it to kill someone is so iconic to me. Like, it's that image I've seen at least 100 times, like, around the internet of him holding that weapon. So it's less about like the special effects or how brutal the kill is, and just the fact that he used that weapon. And also that's just a testimony to how boring most of these were, that I'm like, that one at least gets points because he has the cool weapon.
That's fair.
The other ones are so boring.
Yeah. I'm gonna go ahead and say my number 1 was party horn to the eye. Number 2 was sleeping bag, and number 3, just because it's like a fun jump scare, was and also she was a bitch, was Melissa's axe to the head and smashed against the wall. And that's also when we see like Jason has entered the chat at this point with the final 2 people. So I liked that one.
So Jason Voorhees' design in this movie, it's the only movie in the franchise with this look for the character, and it's very specific. So it's like, imagine all of the different like things that have happened to Jason in recent memory. There's the axe through the forehead from 3, which is like an iconic mark. If you mess up that, like the axe through the forehead on the mask, then you clearly don't know the series. Like that one. But a lesser known one maybe that you see less is the damage from part 6 on the face of the mask with the motorboat, the propeller from the boat that gets turned on his face.
Yeah.
And that like completely destroys that side of the mask and exposes his teeth through his zombie skin. He's also a zombie. And he's like a waterlogged zombie. So all of his like rib cage is exposed, his spine is exposed, yet he's still like dummy thick.
And he's like leathery.
He's like all like, he looks like a seal, like a baby seal. He's got a rusty chain around his neck where he was hung in part 6 and escaped in this one, and it was broken but still around his neck.
Mm-hmm. His clothes are disintegrating except for his pants are perfectly intact because he needs to preserve his thick ass booty.
Yeah. There's no way those pants are getting off at this point.
Oh yeah. Good Jason. Not peak Jason, but definitely plateaued at peak.
This is a good Jason, I would say.
It's a good Jason. What would you... Do you want to talk about final guy and girl, or do you want to go straight to rating it?
Well, the final couple, they both suck. This one dude's like a bonehead.
Yeah, it's like a Chad and then like a Carrie knockoff, and that's basically... And none of the characters are really... Besides Maddie, I guess, our queen, like...
Maddie is the only character that I give any thought to, and it's because she has one line that's interesting where she says, need some work my ass.
Yeah.
And then, like, walks out the door. Like, that's the only, like, interesting moment any character has in this movie.
Literally. Everyone else is just, like, fucking... Either, like...
You would think a character who has telekinesis could do something interesting to make you remember them. Like, but I don't know.
Yeah.
They're like, this movie could be so good, and I don't fully hate it. I know you kind of fully hate it.
I kind of fully hate it.
I don't fully hate it. Like, I really like this series, and I like all of them. Like, even the ones I haven't seen, like, I like all of them. I just know I'll watch all of them at some point again. Just because it's part of the history of the series, and it's like, sometimes when you, like, watch a show, you, like, watch the episodes you remember that you not liking or whatever still. It's not the best, but it's still Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
It's, like, got some moments. It's cool to see more Jason.
Mm-hmm.
That's my thoughts.
She was fun. I think, honestly, like I said earlier, I think I just was so excited for this one because we have been on such a roll, and, like, 6 is also, like, our favorite one, and we were coming off that high, and I was, like, excited to get back into it, and I was excited to see a new Friday the 13th I had never seen before. So I think maybe I was just sort of disappointed because I had high hopes, but it's okay. Like, it's still fun. We still see Jason.
So, this makes me think
fine.
Of part 6. We watched this interview that Christian Hannah Horror did on his YouTube channel. A live interview with Tom McDonald from part 6.
Yeah.
And there was something Tom said in that interview where he was like, basically the only reason I got to make this movie was because the production house needed a tax write-off, so they were just going to let him blow some money.
Yeah.
And if it turned out making a profit, that would be good. If it didn't, whatever, we just needed the tax write-off. So it was like a risk-free environment for them to make that movie, and that's why he got to be so creative with it. But my thought is that after the final chapter, which is like the natural, like, this is where the movie should end, they kind of like grasp for straws in a way to keep it going. And good shit comes from that, but, like, I would say from 5 on, they're still kind of trying to figure out, like, how do we get people to come to the theater to see this movie? And this was that part of that attempt. But the Tom McDonald talk was interesting just in terms of, like, the series overall, because he mentioned, like, audience's reactions to that movie when it came out, and people thought it was too funny.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember Haley was like, picked up a lot on the humor and how funny the movie was.
Yeah.
That's a good interview if you guys want to hear more Friday the 13th Part 6 talk straight from the director's mouth.
Definitely recommend. That was a cool watch. Okay, shall we rate this movie and give our final thoughts?
Yeah. What should our rating be?
Ooh, okay. I kind of want to say, like, out of 15 joints that David, the stoner dude, rolled and had pre-rolled for this weekend getaway.
Okay.
Do you vibe with that? Especially since we're coming off 420. Like,
yeah, 420 was yesterday.
Yeah.
Blaze it.
Blaze one for the nation. Okay, so out of 15 pre-rolled joints for a lake house getaway, I'm gonna go ahead and give this movie a 5.
Wow. That's fair.
Yeah, basically the highlights being Jason's design and the music. And the cinematography was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And Maddie. Everything else, and I'll just go ahead and give my thoughts. Characters, forgettable. Plot, weird. Final people suck. And kills, not ideal. And
also, I think in general, it just has less kills than the previous movies.
Yeah.
Like, I think Part 6 and Part 5 had 22 kills, maybe, around there.
Yeah.
This one only has 16.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, just, not my fave. Sorry. What if I just puked everywhere? Okay. What's yours?
What's my rating?
Yeah.
I think... So... Let me add this up. Maybe, like... I'll give it 7.
Why is yours slightly higher than mine? What did you see that I didn't see in this movie?
So, I'm just thinking, like, if I gave it 7.5... You're good?
Yeah.
If I gave it 7.5, that would be, like, 5 out of 10.
Mm-hmm.
And... So, I'm just going to give it a little bit less than that, just because I feel like 5 is, like, completely neutral on it. Whereas all of the other movies in the series so far, I've been, like, positive, like, clearly into the I like this side of the spectrum.
Yeah.
This one, the things I like about it are really just that it's a Friday the 13th movie. It has some cool Jason shots, some cool, like, I don't know, like, Jason moments with the sleeping bag and the face mask explosion. So it's really, like, as a movie, it's not that great. Recommended for fans of Friday the 13th only, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like,
And
I feel
80s
like it's
slasher.
a watch it just to... my honest opinion is watch it to say you've seen the whole franchise. It's a once watch. I would not watch this again, personally.
I would probably watch
I don't
it
speak
again.
for Greg.
I'd probably watch it again.
This is a rare occurrence where me and Craig disagree on something. So...
Well, we don't even disagree that much. Like...
Craig's just more lenient with his...
So, okay, for instance, like... What were we watching the other day that I was, like, not into?
Well, Cocktail?
No, I kind of, like, enjoyed Cocktail while it was happening because I like shitting on it.
I'm trying to think.
Maybe, like, okay, you know this show, The Circle, the reality
show?
Oh,
yeah.
So, like, Haley watched, like, one episode of that, and I, like, sat through it. And by the time we were, like, halfway through the next episode, I was like, okay, like, no more after this, please. I was like, I can't take any more of it. I'm like, I'll just go to bed.
Yeah.
Rather than just, like, be in front of the TV with this playing. Because I can't do shit like that. So that to me, I'd watch this movie over and over and over again just to not watch The Circle.
Oh my god.
Honest to God.
Damn. Wow.
But that's just me.
That's an insult.
That's how I feel about, like, I mean, The Circle's not even that bad either.
It's just the mood. Like,
I'm just
know.
like,
yeah.
Yeah, if you're a Friday the 13th fan, you might find something you like about this movie.
Yeah, maybe.
It's just very tame by, like, the standards of the series, and there's not much nudity. There's, like, some, like, not so frontal boobage in the underwater scene, and you get to see, like, her butt kind of, and maybe, like, if you, like,
a little bush.
if you froze, like, the scene and zoomed in, you might could see, like, her bush or something, but not really. So basically no nudity, very little gore. Most of the gore is, like, just through the zombie-like appearance of Jason and body reveal shots where there's, like, a little bit of blood on someone's face. Like, it's not, I would say the goriest it gets is with the eye.
Yeah,
the
definitely.
party toy through the eye.
But
eye stuff is just already more disturbing. So
yeah.
This, for something about the sleeping bag thing, disturbs me a little bit.
Yeah, it was
to get whacked against a tree, that would have fucking hurt.
Yeah, man.
Also, people die instantly in these movies. Like,
yeah.
Stabbed in the gut, dead instantly. You hit the ground, you're dead. Like, hit against a tree, dead. Anyways, okay, that was MPGP Podcast, episode 10.
Are we on the 10th episode?
I don't know. I think we're on the 10th episode.
Whoa.
Should I confirm it?
Yeah, we're going to quickly confirm.
Instagram, MPGP.
Ooh, you're checking our Instagram to see if this is our 10th episode?
Yep.
Very fascinating, because maybe y'all should also look at our Instagram and follow it and like all of our posts, and also comment on our posts and participate in our polls and join our community. And our Instagram is MPGP_podcast. And also, if you're listening to this right now and you're wondering, hey, like, listening on my current platform is cool, but maybe I want to try to listen somewhere else, we are on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. And, you know, we would love if you would rate and review us. And as always, thank you so much for listening. We love you. Thanks for listening to our DIY pod crust. I'm Haley.
Craig.
And bye.
Bye-bye.